Can I talk now?
Yes, you can talk now. I told you could talk now. Quit complicating this, my friend.
So that's the nature of what I do. I'm a fan of chaos. Hey, what's up, Facebook? Welcome to another episode of Nerf Herder Radio. I'm your host Carter, and with me, as always, is Jason. Our guest tonight is Matt, one of our gaming buddies. Matt, it's a weird circle, but how did we meet? It was
So my cousin Edward worked at Dell, and he knew Horn, and then through Horn we met you.
okay.
And then Horn and Edward stopped playing Destiny, and then Dooz and I pretty much just played Destiny almost for a year without anybody else because everybody else quit.
And then where did Jake come from? You and Jake were college roommates, right? Or buddies in college? Okay.
Jake and I were roommates in college.
And just so everybody clarifies, we all played Destiny together on Xbox. That's how we all know each other, and that's how we all came to hate each other.
Yeah, I've only met I've met Jake and my cousin Edward and Horn in person. Everybody else more than likely never see in person, but that's the way of online gaming.
Hey, I saw you digitally in person. You were on once before with our show.
I don't. That doesn't count.
Sure, it
does. You missed me earlier with the video on. I had my blanket pulled over my head.
He looked like Darth Hobo.
What was it? The movie The Others, whatever, with Nicole Kidman when the kid's under the blanket and she pulls it off. It's like, I am your daughter, and it's the old lady, and it's like creepy.
Oh.
All right.
Or Annabelle. Have you seen the new
Dude, make the hairs on the back of my neck stand straight up and go, nope. Crazy.
All right, and then of course, through me, I introduced Jason into you guys, so ultimately you can hate me for
everything that's happening. Everything that has happened to this day is because of Carter's fault.
At this moment in time. Yeah. So trust me, I hate myself about as much as y'all hate me.
And then we slowly built a Destiny 2 clan. I don't know how many people in it. We got a guy in there that just keeps deleting people randomly.
The Hammer?
He's just like, I deleted 30 people. Why?
They don't play.
Because
they don't play.
That's so funny.
It'd be funny if we. I think he's the owner again, but if we could kick him, that'd be funny. Doesn't feel so good, does it?
Probably have an aneurysm.
Careful, Hammer may watch one day and hear this and go back and ban us all.
No, he watches these.
He listens or watches. So he's.
That's funny.
Shout out to Hammer. You're not that.
What's up? No. Anywho, what's on the agenda tonight? We got a bunch of Star Wars stuff. We talked about E3 last week. Some news in the Star Wars world. I watched some potential, I wouldn't call them spoiler videos, but maybe some they wouldn't be too off base if these happened videos about episode 9. If we want to dive into that.
I've been trying to stay away from those. This
was like a looper video. This isn't. They're not going to tell you anything that's not already out there or possible. So I'm not digging into guys who are on set, leaking stuff. So
I didn't know if you had a friend.
I don't have any friends.
You have a friend.
Just you two. Yeah.
But Carter, do you think we'll see a trailer before the movie?
Shut up.
So now I've got some stuff we can talk about. I mean, there's some news in Star Wars before we kind of jump into the review of Episode 3. I thought it was interesting because we're talking about Episode 3. An article kind of got posted out there by Nerdist that came out, yesterday, and it said, does the Star Wars prequels VFX hold up? Experts weigh in. And there's a video about it. And, I mean, after watching them, especially on like a 4K TV, some of it, you're like, man, it doesn't look too bad, but then some of you're like, man, you can tell they green screened the crap out of this movie.
They green screened everything. The entire movie was shot on green screen.
Yeah, there was one. So I've just recently watched Episode 3, as in today. I've been kind of off and on watching it, and there was one scene where one of the clones is standing next to Obi-Wan on that lizard thing that he rides around right before he gets shot down, and like it is like straight CG, but it looks like they photoshopped just their faces onto the bodies, like one of those paper dolls you used to get, and you could put like you kind of like push the different things around it, and it's just kind of like a face. It's like, oh, did they do that with Microsoft Paint? I didn't know that was.
Yeah, but you got to think back when those came out, that was some cutting edge special effects.
But it's
Well,
just
I'll say
it didn't
episode
need to
3
be.
does.
It didn't need. They could have made those suits easily, put them on a green screen, and used real costumes. Like the background looked amazing, but it was just like, what were you doing? Like,
there's one scene where it really stuck out to me. You can tell where they like digitally edited real camera footage, because it's the Battle of Kashyyyk right before the battle. Like they kind of come around and you see the islands and the one cliffside in the water. And you're like, okay, that's real. That's real. You can tell they digitally inserted a little guard tower on the top of the cliff, and as it pans around, you're like, oh yeah, totally fake. It's just blatant, because it's like they didn't. It's like whoever's supposed to go in and blend the two effect, like the real versus the digital together. It's like they didn't blend that seam in very well, and you can just tell in a lot of those scenes. So.
And it's not just episode 3, 1 through 3. It's just
one's awful.
I mean, I've listened to George Lucas talk about, well, like he was like, well, you don't make history if you just do the same thing over and over again, and I'm just like, and he was talking about the special effects. It was some interview in one of the DVD releases, and he was talking about it and defending it, and I was like, it's great that you wanted to like give us these new worlds and all this kind of stuff, but it looks like poo. I mean, and there's so many scenes that are, it's like the claw scene in that one Wolverine where he like pulls out his claws and you're like, well, that looks like, I mean, you can tell it's computer generated. Yeah. And movies are supposed to not do that. Yeah. Like, it's computer generated, but you need to be like, wow, that I mean, I couldn't really tell the difference. And you can tell the difference in so many scenes.
Yeah. I would say episode 3 is a lot better than 1 and 2 in that regard. I think
one's terrible.
1 is horrible. 2's not a whole lot better. But I think 3, I mean, like Jason mentioned, the Battle of Kashyyyk, it looked really good. The opening sequence when they're fighting the big space battle between the Separatists and
when I watched it earlier, it did not look like it. Like you could tell it was older CG, but it's like it's a space battle. And what it and in that moment, what it really made me wish they would have done is like they would have just done extended the Clone Wars cartoon, done an arc for all of episode 3, and just kind of like expanded it. And I was just like, it would have looked beautiful, in the same way that they made the Clone Wars TV show.
Yeah. Probably my favorite part is just that opening scene, and I have a treat for all of our viewers that they can watch here in a second. But yeah, VFX wise, I don't think they held up. I get disappointed though when I think about it, because the original trilogy came out, and I didn't watch it till later on. And thanks to, I think, one of my brothers or my dad, they were like, we're watching Star Wars. I'm like, what's that? You'll like it. It's lightsabers and there's laser swords and this and that. I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And I was like, this is awesome. But when you see the making of it, and it was plastic models and balsa wood and little firecrackers, and it's just like camera angles that they're using and how they're doing it, it was amazing. And it's like they took a risk and were very creative with it. And I feel like it
was art. It was art.
It was truly art and talent.
It was painstaking art. I mean, all 3 of those movies were behind schedule, and it was because of the effects they were doing and George Lucas wanting them to be perfect. Yeah. And it's like he wanted to get. It was. I feel like the route that they went with 1 through 3 was the easy route instead of the artistic route, which is.
I won't say that. I don't want to. The people behind it that did the work. I mean, I think it's art, but it's not the same. I felt like it was more of a cop out. Instead of saying, "Hey, let's try to creatively use a prop and make an explosion." And integrate that in. Like when you see I'll beat a dead horse. Game of Thrones. If you've watched the last watch special, like they green screened all these explosions and then digitized them into the other scenes after the fact, but they came out looking so real. And of course, technology changed, but it's like they just kind of went. He took the easy way out of just saying, "Hey, I'm just going to VFX everything and then making props," and that to me was kind of a bummer.
you said it, Jason. To deliver the worlds and kind of build this universe, he had to. I mean, the whole planet of Coruscant. I mean, you couldn't build that on
No.
a set, but
No.
I think for
But
like
those aren't the scenes we're talking about.
no,
When you
I
see the
know.
worlds, I'm talking about the stuff that it seemed lazy.
Well, like when
Um,
Palpatine and Yoda have the big battle, the big fight in the Senate, that looks like crap. When Anakin, goes to see Palpatine and then has the fight with Mace.
that
I mean,
whole
that
whole
all looked like
switch
crap.
from
Yeah.
with that whole switch from Palpatine to the Emperor and it just
And the scrotum neck.
like
Ugh.
oh god, this is just
Yeah.
like so bad. It's like that.
Yeah.
That's
that's
bad
you
makeup
can't-
artist too.
Yeah, that was just so bad.
There's so many things, and we'll get into that here in a second. But there's just so many things about that movie that frustrated me. But there's so many things about that movie I enjoyed at the same time.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that in a minute, though. I thought something that was interesting too is I'm gonna probably butcher the last name. It's Michelle Rejwan. She was announced as by Lucasfilm as the new senior VP of live production or live action development and production.
Is Kathleen Kennedy still around?
Kathleen
Or
Kennedy's
she?
still around. But what I think is interesting is she JJ was involved with Force Awakens and now Rise of Skywalker. And she has kind of been around I won't say riding the coattails of Abrams, but if you pull her up on IMDb, most
So
of the
she was a
stuff-
co-producer of The Force Awakens.
yeah, she was a co-producer in that, but she was an assistant to Abrams on Mission Impossible, assistant to Abrams on Morning Glory. She was an assistant in Curb Your Enthusiasm, producer for Skywalker, Monster Challenge, Force Awakens, Secrets of the Universe TV documentary on Star Trek Into the Darkness. She was a co-producer on, and then Super 8, which I think Super 8 was an Abrams movie too, right?
Yes.
So,
Also really good.
So I have a feeling Abrams probably
Was that Abrams? I thought it was Spielberg.
I don't know. Let me pull it up on IMDb. To
I
the
thought
internet, Batman.
Super 8
No, it was Abrams.
Was it?
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams and this producer Spielberg had a hand in it.
Yeah, like Spielberg played a part in it.
Yeah,
Producer.
he was the
It's-
producer.
Okay.
Yeah. It's on
So,
that poster that they
I don't
have
know
on
anything
IMDb.
about her. I don't know what that really means. Live action development and production or whatever. But
Well, if I read between the
I
lines,
think it's TV shows.
it has
yeah,
to
it's
be.
it's giving
Yeah.
her some sort of producing, title to oversee this, because I think Kathleen Kennedy's gotten beat up pretty harshly over Episode 8
Well,
and
I mean,
Solo.
They're
Rightfully
expanding
so.
beyond the movies. I mean, they've
Rightfully
got
so.
the 2 TV shows, and then they're, rehashing the Clone War TV show to end it. So,
yeah.
Well, yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know. Decent track record. She's associated with Abrams, so that gives me some hope.
Yeah.
He's failed to or has yet to disappoint on anything I've watched that he's produced. So, yeah, we'll see. But it's just some Star Wars news. I just want to try to cover that as much as we can. That and the only other thing was I was going to say, unless for your Lego people out there, apparently there is a Lego X-wing that was life size, built using over 1.5 million pieces.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
yeah, does it fly?
No, it doesn't fly.
I can't do any trench runs in it.
Is it
It was
a
at the
functioning
Paris Air
astromech?
No, but you can get an astromech built at Disney now.
Yeah, no, I saw that. You can build lightsabers for like $200.
Yeah, if
but
I ever
but
go there, I'm definitely doing that.
I'm gonna do the lightsaber. The astromech. I mean, it's
I can do that with
Like,
a Raspberry Pi and a hairdryer and a couple other components and a soldering iron.
right. Yeah, I mean that's
Not
there's
to
nothing
downplay
to.
it. I mean, there's definitely something going to be said for the slickness and coolness you'll get, but
I mean,
I feel like
I watched
between the three of us, we could build a life-size one if we really put our minds to it and lived anywhere near each other.
yeah.
I watched the video on YouTube of these guys that actually built the droid, and I feel like it's kind of cheap. It's like an assembly line. You pick the chassis, you pick the legs, you pick the head, and then you basically use a remote control to turn it around. So do you want a cylindrical one? You want a round one? I mean, I felt it was kind of cheap. Now building your own lightsaber, that's something completely different.
Yeah, and so I read I think 2 articles talking about the quality of the lightsabers because people were reviewing doing that. And all of them have been like they're pretty high quality, and for custom lightsabers that you can buy online or whatever, they're usually like 100 to 150. So getting one for 200 at actual Disney theme park is not like super outrageous. So
Yeah. I mean, that's about the same price as a medium soft drink. So yeah, I get it.
where do you eat?
At
Yeah,
Disney.
Oh yeah, I know. I did buy some popcorn when I was there at or when I was at the what is it, the Hollywood Studios part or the Disney park theme.
Yeah.
Only because it came in a TIE Fighter thing that I have sitting on a bookshelf in my living room. It's the only reason I bought popcorn, but it was like $15 or something crazy like that.
Yeah. I wanted to go. I was trying to find them when I went to Disneyland out in California. If you go out there, they had for a while. It was a run of it was the Infinity Gauntlet, but it was a cup you could drink out of, and you put your hand into it, and where your hand would be, it would form around to have a cup with a straw. And I was like, that would be awesome just to have and just sit there and play Xbox with everybody. Hold on, let me take a drink. Let me put the gauntlet on. They were out of them. Apparently, it was a special run. You can get them on eBay for like $40 still. I figure after the Avengers hype dies down, they'll probably go down a little cheaper. But I always thought those were cool. They always have those unique things like that.
Yeah.
I just
sent
know,
you guys
$40. I can
picture of it
find
in our-
a lot of other things to spend $40 on
Yeah.
an Infinity Gauntlet cup, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Well-
Matt, I see you sent that picture to us. My nephew has one of those.
Yeah, it's pretty big too.
No, yeah.
So
it's
is that it?
significant. Yeah, that's the
black-
popcorn holder.
Yeah,
Wow.
the top opens up and you put the bag of popcorn in the top of it.
Oh, yes. Pretty good size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's flimsy, but I mean, I'm not like throwing it around my living room or anything. So
All right. Well, we ready to butcher episode 3?
Yeah, thought we already did, but yeah, let's dive into it.
I mean, beyond effects. What? Did you said hold on? What's happening?
I was launching the transition. It's got the video playing of the battle scene in the beginning with a little bit of audio. We can talk about that. But favorite scene in the movie is when once you get past the intro credits is that battle, and you've got the two little Jedi starfighters, which I don't know if they're the Jedi starfighters. I think they're called something else.
The one that Anakin and
yeah,
Obi-Wan
they're like
they're
pre-
Jedi. They're like A-wings or something like that.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
precursor
early.
to the A-wing, right?
They're precursor to the TIE Fighter. They have the TIE Fighter sound effect. The cockpit's the TIE Fighter. The sides things pop open like a TIE Fighter.
But they're the ones that have the they get into those circles in which are the hyperspace. Like they can go.
No, see, well, that's the thing is in this one they don't have that. They never show it. They had the Jedi Starfighter that is in Episode 2 is actually different than what's in Episode 3.
Yeah, they changed.
Yeah, the ship changed. Because in Episode 3,
honestly,
it's more of a TIE Fighter
I'm
look.
pretty
In
sure
Episode
they
2,
may not be the Jedi Starfighters because they may have just stolen them trying to catch Palpatine. Because so
Well, no, they use them
You
later
remember
on in
the
the
old-
movie and stuff too. So
yeah, remember the old Clone Wars cartoon? Not the TV show, but the one that was on the Cartoon Network that
Yeah.
was like in shorts of like 7 minutes.
yeah,
They
it's like-
actually, I don't think it's canon, but they actually show that Grievous kidnaps Palpatine, on Coruscant and tries to escape with him, and then that's where you kind of lead up to. But I think they stole those, and that's why they may not be Jedi Starfighters. Like they just like, oh my gosh, we've got to get in the air. Let's just take them.
Well,
and
my
go.
only reason for thinking, and if you pull up the live stream, you'll see the two different ships. Is if you look at the ship that's in Episode 3, it's basically a early rendition of a TIE Fighter. The cockpit is the side things that pop up and stuff. I think it's an Imperial ship, and but it's more of a battle ready ship because the Starfighter.
What color is it?
It's yellow.
Okay, I found a wiki site, and they call the yellow one the Anakin Skywalker's ETA-2 Actix class interceptor.
Yeah, it's like a TIE Interceptor. And the Starfighter is on the right, and it's maroon, and it's a pyramid ship. It's got a very small cockpit, and that's the one they use in episode 2. And he takes the giant ring thing to blast him across the world. It's almost like it doesn't have a hyperdrive.
Yeah.
So it just little
Never
things like
really
that.
noticed that.
Well, it's just little things I noticed about watching it, and you know, it's just interesting to me. But you know, I love that opening scene because it just like the depth you feel when they fly over and you see Coruscant below. It's not Coruscant. Is it Coruscant?
Coruscant, yeah.
Coruscant.
And you got the early Star Destroyers and everything else, and it just felt so deep and like you felt the depth and stuff. It was really cool to me. I was excited because I felt like the entire time I've been watching Star Wars, like, okay, when is the big battle going to happen? In episode 1, we had, well, this is pod racing, kill me, and then in episode 2, we had the cosplayer charge against the stormtroopers, and all the Jedi die right there, and then you had that battle on Geonosis, which was cool, but it was it was quick and short. And then when this opened up with this big battle, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to get this really cool fight scene. And it was, but it ended quickly. It's like 2 minutes.
Yeah. That fight scene between Anakin and Dooku was very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Based on all the other battles they have and what they were saying before it actually happened. And Dooku's whole entrance into that scene, like, it's just like, oh, well, that was quick. And he didn't even, I don't know, he's supposed to be, like, kind of doing that prequel to like going into the dark side, and he was just like, I can feel your fear, and then he cuts his hands off. Like, it's like that quick, and it's like,
because Palpatine told him to.
Yeah, well, he did influence it. Well, not cutting his hands off. I'm just talking about not killing him. I'm actually defeating him. Like, I figured you'd get a little bit more of a build up of, like, you could kind of see the rage come out a little bit more than what it did, because that's, I mean, honestly, that's my biggest gripe with all of episode 3 is just the abrupt turn of Anakin Skywalker in the movie. It's just like, I'm good, and now I'm killing children. Like, I mean, it's just so abrupt. And it's the one thing that I feel like the Clone Wars TV show did so well is kind of do that slow burn of, like, if you had never watched the Clone Wars TV show, like, you're like, well, why did he turn so fast? Why we see so willing to, like, give up the Jedi Order and, like, go to Palpatine? And it's just like, because the Clone Wars TV shows, like, slow burns it to its 8 seasons that, like, oh, that's why he distrusts the Jedi Order. Not so much Obi-Wan, but the actual Jedi Order.
Yeah. To me, I think when you watch it and stuff, it's one of those things. Is I relate it back to he was forced into the Jedi Order by Qui-Gon and kind of by Kenobi at the end of episode 1 because he's too old, and well, I'm going to train him Master Qui-Gon 1 and 2, blah 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 blah, all those types of things. And it's like he was there with Obi-Wan, and then unfortunately he is a product of the environment and the war, where everything is focused on the war, not focused on development and training and readying its people. And he kind of gets left behind, but also I'll say this too: if Yoda can sit there and feel all these people dying, all these younglings dying and stuff, why isn't he picking up on like the odd vibes of Anakin more and being like, there's something pretty odd going on here. Why are we not? You give me your lightsaber. You're in timeout. We're gonna go. You're on leave. We're putting you on
or why wouldn't anyone pick up on Palpatine?
Yeah. Okay, so Palpatine's kind of interesting because apparently, you know how Luke Skywalker cuts himself off to the Force up until a certain point in The Last Jedi? That's what Palpatine is doing this entire time. He has learned how to, like, cut himself off from the Force, so he just, like,
he can operate as if he doesn't have the Force in him, and then just turn it on when he needs it.
And then turn it on when he needs to, because if you watch the Clone Wars, like, that's the whole thing, the TV show. It's like, he does use his dark side powers, and there's, like, instances where Yoda can sense it, but it's never like he doesn't know who it is, because every time he's around Yoda, he's like on Coruscant and he's not being Sidious. Like, he is cutting himself off from the Force, and that's why they can't feel it. Like, they know what's happening, but I believe he is cutting himself off from the Force.
That makes sense. I'll accept that.
And I think he explains a little bit more in the Darth Plagueis book, but it's not canon anymore. But it's kind of understood that that's what he's doing.
Well, I thought what was interesting is, if you remember in episode 3, towards the end, It's right when, I think Mace Windu dies and stuff. He's like, "Can you help me save Padme?" He's like, "We can learn together." And then, of course, we hear his laugh in Rise of Skywalker. So at some point, Vader and Palpatine may have Palpatine learned some more tricks up his sleeve post Episode 3, but before end of Episode 6.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those leaks out there that it's like he's gonna come back as a clone, or he's, put his spirit in something else. I do know that
did he
in
pull the Lord Voldemort and make a Horcrux?
Yeah, something like that.
Possibly, yeah.
There's also one of the Vader comics that just come out. Basically, it says that Emperor Palpatine is Vader's father. Like, he's the one that influenced the midichlorians in Shmi's body and basically formed life inside of her, and that's his.
Why target Shmi? That's kind of weird. Like,
I don't think she's the only one. I think she may have been the first one that it worked on. So I don't know if she's the only one, because in some of the books, the Aftermath books, and I'm trying to think of what else here. He has these outposts, and Jakku is actually one of them. He has these little outposts.
Yeah, they talk about that
outposts.
in Jason, the Battlefront 2, remember?
Yeah, they kind of get into it.
I'll have to go back and look. I don't know. I'm trying to push myself to read some books right now. I'm gonna have to add the Aftermath books, I think.
They're really good, but they don't go into total depth of what he's doing. But it's just these outposts are all over all over the core systems, and he's using them for something that we don't know what he's doing.
Is that the story in the book where he gets the helmet? Is that it wasn't Plagueis' helmet, but whoever
Monin or Mornin?
Yeah,
like
Momin's helmet.
That's the comic. So it's like. That's how Vader, it helps him design his base as like a residence bar for the dark side of the Force, so he can try to go in and bring Padme back to life. Like, that's his whole point of doing that at that point, is he's telling him. And then he goes on this weird journey through the Force, and you just need to read it. It's really trippy, but kind of awesome. The comics, all the Darth Vader comics have been excellent. Like, they have been really amazing, and I have enjoyed every one of the ones that I've read. Which I think is
I was watching a video, and they talked about Plague, the Plagueis and Palpatine and the sinister laugh at the end of the trailer. Is there a connection? And one of the things they talked about was that helmet, and it had residue of Monin in it, and it basically was a tuning fork to the dark side. So yeah,
it's kind of like what their holocrons are. It kind of stores part of their soul in it.
Huh. Okay. So it is like a Horcrux. All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like the movie overall. Out of the prequel trilogy, it's probably my favorite because of the intro, and then you have the fights with Grievous. I thought Grievous was an interesting character to start with. His story changed between movies and comics and stuff, because at one point, he was injured, and
I've never known an android that had emphysema, but that was kind of cool.
Well, he wasn't. He was a living being. One story goes he got sick and he had to become an android, and the other one was he slowly augmented his body so he could become more skillful at killing Jedi.
Yeah, well, he's like a precursor to Anakin. Like, he's like the test of all the technology that keeps Anakin alive. So if you played the Force Unleashed games, they kind of delve into it in the second one, I believe, because you fight a lot of things that are like Grievous but aren't. And then but Grievous is he's not an android. He is a human. It basically like a human being. Have everything replaced but his brain and heart with metal and machines and robotics. But it's like he's still that person, and I can't think of what species he is, but he's an actual species.
Yeah, I looked it up earlier. I forget what it is.
Yeah. And so, like, in the Clone Wars cartoon, the short one, it's actually the reason he has that breathing problem is because I think it's Mace Windu when they're fleeing, like, does something to it, like opens up his chest or like force squeezes or does something to where it causes him like an injury trying to stop him, and so that's why he's breathing hard in the third movie.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was a
I mean-
Kalish male warlord.
Kalish, that's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. As far as the characters, I liked Grievous. I thought it was a very cool concept. You know, I would definitely like to see them expand on it. I was just like, why does this android have you know, sounds like he's got
Yeah.
lung cancer.
Yeah, he's got reptilian eyes.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I thought that was interesting. The thing that kind of drove me nuts that I noticed about, and I got it on the stream right now, is Obi-Wan. When he would go to fight, he would do this stupid thing where he would stick his left hand out with two fingers, kind of doing a peace sign, pointing out every time. I was like, "What is the crap
Yeah.
is this? Like, what is this?" Wasn't cool. I don't know if it was an Ewan McGregor, like, "Hey, I'm going to do this so I can do my battle stance" or what. But I was just like, there's little things like that. I'm like, "Come on, dude, that's dumb."
Yeah, I didn't quite. I know what you're talking about. His little strike oppose
Yeah.
stance. Yeah. Oh, well, let's comment on Grievous. I thought.
I was gonna say they needed a pose for what was the Entertainment Weekly magazine.
Yeah, Grievous's ship was probably the coolest ship ever in any of the Star Wars ships. The one that Anakin flies off in the end, that sounds like old dragster.
Yeah.
That single cockpit. I thought that ship was awesome.
Yeah.
So, anywho, okay.
Something I thought was interesting, real too, is if you look at the design style of, I'm really curious because you look at the ships in Star Wars and you know, in the planet Naboo, I don't feel like I don't remember it ever really being referenced past Episode 3. I could be wrong. I think it might have been referenced in Force Awakens or one of those.
Well, when Padme's funeral is back in Naboo.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
after
he
episode,
said-
but after Episode 3, we're never really hear about it again. And the thing that really drove me nuts is I feel like, and I guess it's because of it being pre-war, but all of the ships seemed like a lot of them were these rounded, smooth, really like slick-looking spaceships, and then you know the Star Destroyers are these sharp-cornered, rigid ships. But then you look at Grievous's ship, and it's kind of, you know, got that round look to it. Akbar's ship always had that crazy armor-looking thing to it. The transport ships that the rebels used were as well, but everything else was like boxy and just rigid. It was really weird to me.
Those smooth ships are from Naboo. That's why. Like
Oh,
those are made there, I believe.
okay.
Because they're starfighters, the ones that they fly, that Anakin flies in Episode 1 to destroy that the bot
Trade
station.
Federation. Yeah.
They're the same, but they just have paint on them. So those are like specifically for Naboo. And I also know that at a certain point after Episode 3, the Empire starts hoarding resources like crazy because they're trying to build the Death Star. So building stuff like that, like if it was made out of a certain material, they may have not had access to it anymore because, you know.
Yeah, and that's
They're-
what I figured is it was a time of war, and so, you know, just like in World War II, you know, people conserved and recycled and made do with what they had and gave more to the efforts and things like that, or it was forced from their their usage. But it just always drove me nuts. It's like, okay, we went from these really cool ships, and we never even heard of them again, and then afterwards we never hear from them again. But when we see, I also understand with after Episode 6, we're in a post-war environment, and the First Order is still around, and there's still all this shenanigans going on.
Yeah. Palpatine actually gifts Vader or Padme's ship in one of the comic books, like one of the burnt up ones, that one that they took to Mustafar, I think. She actually gifts that to her. Gifts that to Vader as like a messed up joke.
Palpatine was a dick uncle, wasn't he?
Dude, he was Lester the Molester is what he was.
Yeah.
And you see in the comics, it does a really good job of like, oh, this, and like, so Vader's turn on the Emperor is not like in that moment when he's hurting Luke. It's not a quick decision. It is a slow thing that happens over quite some time.
Yeah,
he starts
I know
figuring these things out. He starts figuring these things out that Palpatine's been lying to him about, and he did, and kind of starts figuring it all out. And then at some point, he finally makes that decision of like, nah, screw this. I'm gonna take my life back over. You've lied to me. I was wrong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've heard that story. So Cool.
So I mean, let's talk about the big scene, the big thing that happened in episode 3, Order 66.
Yeah, that was. I mean, you always wondered why all the Jedi were dead, and that kind of explains it.
Yeah, kind of wraps it up.
The one
Yeah,
time
I
the
mean,
It
stormtroopers
was a
can
pretty.
hit,
It was a
can make their
But
Yeah,
target.
okay,
pretty
so,
good
So how
plan.
do you explain the clones in like Rebels and all that were there some that were immune to Order 66? I mean, because
Yes.
then some of the clones
Yeah, so they all
deny
have
that programming.
inhibitor. They all have inhibitor chips. So in the Clone Wars TV shows, there's like a story arc where a couple of them find out what's going on, and there's like inhibitor chips in their brains that make them do this. And
Yeah.
a lot of them, even afterwards, it talks about in Rebels, it talks about them having nightmares about, they like they remit they like they were they
Yeah.
did
They
everything,
regret.
but they couldn't stop it. They were like, I couldn't make myself stop. But some of them actually, like Rex, the main
Yeah.
one of the main ones, he actually gets his removed, and that's why he doesn't take part in it. So, yeah,
I'm wondering if any of the clones ever lived past the Clone Wars and past
they
everything,
did.
and they're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
chilling out somewhere in
There's-
space.
yeah.
That's
There's a
what we talked
couple in Rebels. There's a couple in Rebels that make a show. Rex is actually a pretty big character in Star Wars Rebels. So, a lot of them live past, and they just kind of find their spots in the universe. Because after a while, the Empire, they stop using clones, and
Well, we see that
start-
with Finn. You know, they kidnap people
Yeah.
and program them.
yeah, they don't. I was gonna say they draft them, but that's not even really the word you should use. You join.
Yeah.
We're taking
You
you.
come- Yeah,
You're
pretty
voluntold.
much.
You're a soldier now at like a young age. They kind of do what the Jedi did, take younglings, but so
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Jason, there are some that have existed past that, and like you said, Rex, and I guess Commander Cody's probably the other most popular one because he was running around with Obi-Wan. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of disappointed in how the Clone Wars came to be. Going way back, there was kind of a different storyline. I know that's not canon anymore, but I kind of like that story more than I did now. By cloning Jango Fett, and then ergo Boba Fett is a clone and all that stuff, and so is he a true Mandalorian and yada yada yada, slippery slope. But the the action sequence that happened when all of the soldiers turned, I thought was pretty heart wrenching.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Yoda.
But it's
chops
still,
off
it's the
those
one
two
time to
heads.
see all the stormtroopers hitting their target
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
successfully. I mean, there's no denying it. And then, of course, after all the Jedi are getting killed, you got Anakin slaughtering children, which is
Yeah.
horribly messed up and disturbing. And luckily, my kids have yet to watch that and figure that. Go, he's killing kids. But I'm curious. Somebody I read an article, or I saw a post, and somebody asked, why did his lightsaber not begin to turn red? With all
Because they hadn't come up with the bleeding crystal thing yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. And he doesn't. I don't think he makes his full turn really until he chokes Padme. Like that is his full turn. Like it's. I mean, I know killing kids is
Or
really bad.
I would say that, or his just anger toward Obi-Wan
Yeah.
after Obi-Wan
Yeah.
basically.
It's when his eyes start
High
going
ground.
yellow, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't. It's just because at that point in time, crystals were not. That's not the reasoning behind them at that point, because it was just based on what kind of crystal you got. That's the color. It wasn't that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is a Disney thing that has happened.
Yeah,
it
the
wasn't
kyber crystals.
Yeah. So all that kind of stuff came after Disney. So
Somebody
that's
said
kind of why-
they're trying to make canon how Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber. So,
Well, that
like
was a
why?
Samuel L. Jackson thing.
well, that was his whole. He wanted
He
to have
insisted
a
on
different,
having it
yeah,
so his
but,
kids could see him.
but it was more. Apparently there's some talk. I saw an article somewhere said they're trying to make canon why he has a purple lightsaber. Which
I mean,
whatever.
there's a Clone Wars episode, and it talks about the different crystals and how you kind of get them, and it's the crystal usually picks you, and it's most normally for Jedi they're blue and green, but there are yellow and purple
Yeah.
in there, so you just don't see them very often.
There's the white one, and that what Ahsoka
Ahsoka,
had.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's because it's kind of like those color, and it's just because she's absent of something. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
different.
but I mean, you were the colors pick them, but it was also kind of based on their job, right? Because then
Yeah.
like the
It's
like the
supposed to be.
scholars and
Yeah, that's more of like an old video game thing, but it's more of like attitude and
okay.
something like that. It's very complicated, and I don't fully understand it all the time. I'm just like, okay, cool. There's his
Well,
blue.
Yeah, Ahsoka's though. She had white ones because she did something with the Force to make them that way or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, she's kind of like in the middle or something like that. I don't know. We may. I mean, It wouldn't surprise me if we see her in episode 9, because I mean, we don't. She's not dead.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to bring some of those characters into the forefront. You know, what was the other one? It was Star Wars Rebels. What's the kid's name? That
Ezra.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, I and see like him and Thrawn like go off into the netherworlds or the outer rim, and we don't hear like. I really want to know what the hell happened to them. Like, I'm ready for that TV show or book to kind of give me some what happened. So I think there's a very
Because yeah, one of
overarching-
Palpatine's outposts is where he
he's
basically had
headed
the
up
time,
for- yeah,
the
he's
time
setting it up.
portal.
Yeah, it's like well, the ship's headed towards a beacon of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah. Hopefully, we also find out who Snoke really is in Episode 3. That was one of the few things in 8 that I was like, well, who is Snoke? Like, you killed him, then that's great.
Yeah, they
but,
built up this menacing guy just for
Yeah, I
nothing.
was like, who is he? Yeah. So
It looks like he may have gotten for lightning phrased himself, just like Palpatine. That's what happened. I don't know.
yeah.
So, well, I know we talked about episode 7. We got about 15 minutes left. I mean, episode 7, jeez. Episode 3. Anything else you guys want to talk about that, or do we think we beat the horse enough there?
I think we beat the horse.
I unlike Deuce, he said that he didn't really like the fight scene between Yoda and Palpatine. I enjoyed both of those fight scenes, though I thought they went on a little too long. But I enjoyed both of them, and it was nice to finally see how Vader became Vader. I thought that was a cool moment where he's like, even the overacting of Hayden Christensen, where he's like, "No!"
Oh, the
Yeah.
Boris
I
Karloff.
ate
monster
I ate
thing.
the whole thing up because it was like that's Vader, and then it's just
Well, you hear James
Yeah.
Earl Jones doing the voice, so that's gives you the
Yeah.
goosebumps. My
No,
only thing with the Palpatine Yoda
and
thing I
and
liked-
and there is a brief moment where Palpatine is scared.
yes.
If you notice
Oh,
in
yeah.
that scene, that brief moment, he's like, "Oh my, what did I do?" Like he
I
was
poked the bear.
scared. Yeah,
No,
because
I enjoyed those scenes. I didn't say I didn't like them. I just thought the special effects were shitty.
Yeah.
yeah,
I thought my favorite thing though is Yoda just walks in his little office room and the two guards are there. And he just kind of like waves
And he
them
just
knock-
force
punches
knocks
them.
them out.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I love that kind of stuff with him because he's so nonchalant and just does it, and it's not like this, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm cool. He's just like, all right, I got this, move on. So I really
Now the
enjoyed that.
dopest Yoda move of all time was in episode 2 when he goes to fight Dooku and he basically lifts his jacket up with his right hand and then he pulls his lightsaber to his left with a force. I was like,
Yeah.
oh damn.
Yeah, this is gonna be good.
that was hardcore stuff. No, I enjoyed the movie. I watched it again. And it's grown on me the older I've gotten. I hated it. I hated all of the 1, 2, and 3 when they first came out. It's not that bad anymore. If you haven't watched it in a while, to the listeners, I recommend you go back and give it a rewatch. It's not too horrible.
I always
Yeah.
watch them.
Well.
I will always go back and watch all the movies before I'll go see the next movie. So I've got 8, 9, 10 movies to watch because there's
All right.
episode 1 through 8, and then there is Solo, and there is Rogue One, right? Or Rogue.
Mhm.
Rogue One. I don't
Yeah,
have that
Rogue One,
kind of
okay.
time.
Well, I mean, I'll usually turn them on. Usually, my rule is for my kids to go see them, they have to go watch them all again so they can appreciate the story. So, but
It's cool.
I can
So
appreciate
I'll,
that.
I'll,
I dig
I'll,
it.
I'll slide back in and out of the movies, but I'm just curious. I know we all play video games and stuff. I'm just curious because I have seen it on a couple Discord groups that I'm a part of. One of them's Reggae, and then with our Strike Team Honey Badger one. Is it just summer, or do you feel like the gaming world has gotten stale?
I mean, we're just in that part where all the fall releases just got announced, and we're kind of building up towards all that stuff. I mean, if you play Destiny 2, there's plenty to do. I've been playing through some more of Borderlands 2 because they released that DLC, and that was a lot of fun to play. So if you love Borderlands and haven't played that, do it. It's worth 2 or 3 hours. And I thought I was done, and then ended up getting more and more missions. So I'm not completely finished with the DLC, but it's free and it's pretty awesome. It's way more than what I expected it to be. But we're just in that lull, waiting for September to roll around so we get all of our new fancy stuff that will turn out like Anthem and be terrible.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I do think that the summertime we play with guys from all different ages. Some of us with little kids, some with big kids, and I just think the summertime just kind of eats into our gaming experience to where we can't play as much as we do when it's a little bit colder. But I mean, there's plenty to do now in a lot of the games we play. Destiny 2, the latest season of Opulence, has brought a lot of content to do.
A lot of new stuff in Fallout 76.
Fallout, you got the raid in Division 2. So I mean, I think there's I haven't played that game in a while. I don't know how that's been received by the audience.
I don't know. I haven't played the raid yet. I wanted to. I know they just announced that it's available now. It's the gunner specialization, so you can get the minigun. So
yeah,
okay.
I just always go back to Destiny. I don't know, my cruel mistress.
I think that's one of the most amazing things about that game is the story and the content has not been there at times, but the community behind it is what's kept it going.
Yeah.
I feel like
Dudes and I feel like I really feel like Dudes and I played it's either D1 or D2, but there was like a 6-month period where it was just him and me. Like we were playing something, and we were always the only ones on, and it was
I think it was D1 because it was you and I would find raid groups and do all that stuff, and nobody else would.
I just remember the times we would just stay up late. I mean, it'd be like 2 a.m. We're like, all right, I gotta go to bed. I gotta work tomorrow. It's like, no, we're almost done with this level. The good old days.
Or Dudes and I would always go find people to show us how to do the raids, and then bring it back to you all, and then we would finish it. We would finish it on the first night, and then it would take us another month and a half before we ever cleared it again.
Yeah,
trying to teach you all what to do.
Yeah,
I mostly blame Jason.
Where exactly on the moon are we?
Exactly. Hey, Crota Raid was fun, man. That's some of the stuff. I'm really excited for the new update for that. I hope it does well. Speaking of gaming though, I'm just curious, just because I'm one of those morons that likes to buy into the accessories and thinking, oh man, this would be nice to have, so I don't have to have a keyboard on my desk. I can move this out of the way, and I got a flight stick and a controller so I can play Star Citizen, which I haven't played yet. I need to go through and do that because I got to configure it. But what do y'all think? Some of the accessories out there are just kind of overboard. It's probably more on the PC gaming side that you see that stuff. Or do you think they're practical?
I love my Elite controller. I wish the grips didn't come off of it, but I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And then also I have the Lucid Sound 35S, the ones made for the Xbox, and probably one of the best investments that I've ever made, just because they're truly wireless. They don't connect, they connect just like your controller does. So I mean, it's your game. If you game the way you want to game, if you want to buy stuff, buy it. If you don't. I mean,
I'm always just curious kind of what everybody thinks about that, because I think some of the stuff, like a good headset, a good controller makes sense, especially if you're playing all the time. You want something that's going to handle wear and tear, and I mean, you got to think how much.
We've played with some guys with some shitty headsets.
Yeah, it's like guys. What?
Or there's
or you
stuck
hear
at the
the
bottom
fan
of a well.
or the fan in the background where you're just like,
Or
I can hear that.
or it's this one.
Or you hear the game. It's like you can hear the echo of the game where it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
I can hear it in my headset and I can also hear it coming out of yours.
Right.
Or you have the jerk that's just sitting there chewing a bag of chips in the entire headset the entire time.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Yeah,
you.
those guys are the worst.
They're the
And it's all,
worst.
and they're always like, it's not me, and I'm like, I muted everybody but you. It's you. Like you're
Right.
the echo.
I'm guilty
Oh my
of
god,
that.
echoes.
I'm not the
Well,
echo
drive
guy.
me
I'm the
insane.
potato chip guy.
The echo is because they're using like a cell phone headset,
Yeah.
something that's not the plug isn't designed.
Well, the problem
you
is
know,
they're using a
plug in.
headset and they're not using playing the audio through their headset. They're playing the audio through their TV speakers still, so the TV is
Right.
picking up the audio. The mic is picking up TV audio. That's
Yeah.
the worst. So,
I mean,
I'm
as
just
far
curious.
as far as the accessories, I think what Matt said's right. I mean, if you are an avid car racing guy and you want to buy a wheel and pedal, you're gonna get something out of that. There's
Yeah.
no harm in that or anything like that. I
I
mean,
What about the new Razer gaming drink?
I don't know anything
What?
about
I
that.
don't drink energy drinks.
I know.
so-
I just thought it was funny that Razer's like, we're coming out with an energy drink and it's this and that. I'm like, oh, so it's Red Bull and Monster probably combined with a little bit of battery acid.
Yeah, and
Maybe some
Adderall.
heroin. Yeah, Adderall. or
But
something.
I mean, you got to think that on average, I mean, I play either 10 to 20 hours a week sometimes of video games. Why wouldn't I want to buy nice stuff that's going to last me and it's
I'm
going
not
to do
denying
well?
that. I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
And
when
I
does it
like
become
the
overkill?
the Elite controller because it's got the paddles on the back. I don't have to push
Right.
down on the joysticks when I run. Like,
Yeah.
I paid $150 so I don't have to push down on a joystick, and I love it because it's annoying, and I can revive somebody while I'm shooting with the other paddle.
Yeah, that's what I
So-
do. I love the Elite controller for that. It was funny y'all talking
Yeah.
about the grips falling off. Mine is like, other than I think one of my sticks is starting to finally wear out after like 3 years.
Oh, I already
The grips on
pre-ordered
it are fine.
Elite. I already pre-ordered the wireless too. Like I'm getting.
How
it
much
in
is the
November.
new one?
180.
Hmm.
I think 170.
That might be worth it.
Yeah, and I've had this one for what has it been 3 years now? Because I got mine when they came out. So, but if you again, if you have an Xbox and you're looking for a nice headset, Lucid Sound 35S, get them. Like they're the best headset that I've had for gaming, and for the Xbox, like hands down.
Yeah, it's $179.99 for the Elite Wireless Series 2. It's available 11/4 of this year. My headset that I use for if I'm playing Xbox, I have the Elite controller and I just plug my headphones in it. But I've got it's a Plantronics, I think Rig 400 series. It's the dual over the ear, super comfortable. They do get a little hot, but just because of the padding is kind of thick. But it isolates all the sound and stuff, so all you hear is the game, which is really great.
These are noise canceling. I can't hear anything that's going on in my living room when we're playing. Like someone could walk in here and slap me in the face, and unless I saw them, I wouldn't hear them.
Yeah.
Oh,
this one's
yeah,
rechargeable?
I'm
That's
with- I'm
nice. I
with-
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's no battery replacement on
oh
that,
my gosh,
which
that gets
is
so annoying. This thing eats batteries.
Yeah. Mine, I just plug them in every night before after I'm done, and then they just charge on their own. They're completely wireless. They sync to the actual Xbox and not the controller. So, like, if my controller dies, my headset doesn't go out. Like, if you guys, you guys are well-to-do individuals. If you're looking for a nice headset, just buy some. They're worth it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll have like 25% off sales if you follow them on Twitter. So,
okay.
but yeah.
Oh, that stinks. I was just looking. I was like, oh, sweet, you can do the design lab on an Elite. No, you can't.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That would be really cool. That'd be pretty dope.
You can put stickers on your Elite. And what this one is going to have
I can come paint them white out.
3 profiles now, so 3 different games.
I never used that. I don't know anybody who ever did.
Now, mine are just because it's basically the same.
Bless you.
I use the run. I use the paddles for the run, and then whatever something I can't do while I'm shooting, or that's really hard to do while I'm shooting, which is usually X. So
I
mine's
set
been-
it. I set it up one time when we are on D1 when Sparrow Racing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I did it, but there was some. I think I was using the paddles for the triggers and something or else. So I created a profile just for that game.
Oh,
For
Oh,
that
okay.
con- that.
bumpers, so you can go side to side.
Yeah, I think so. Where I was just using the 4 paddles underneath instead of A, B, any of the other buttons or something. That was the only time.
Oh, okay. No, it looks cool. I was just curious. So, I know there's some summer movies and stuff coming out. Anything you guys are excited about or could care less about?
Well, when we take my daughter off to college down in Orlando, we're gonna do Universal Studios, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Oh, okay.
Universal Studios is awesome.
Yeah.
Much better than the Hollywood Studios at Disney World. I loved it. You gonna go see Bean? You guys gonna hang out?
Gonna try see if we can connect. We got the front of line pass and all this stuff, so hopefully we get to experience it.
Yeah.
We got 1 day, so we're gonna.
Harry Potter World's really awesome.
You're gonna have a 24-hour bender in Universal's, what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Get there as soon as the park opens and go straight to Harry Potter World if that's what you're doing. Don't, because if you're wanting to do any of the rides, it's better to go while the park's not as full early in the morning.
Yeah.
I got there probably 30 minutes before it opened. It wasn't a huge line to get in, and so once they opened, like we headed straight for it and got in and did a bunch of stuff before a bunch of people showed up. Because probably at about 11 to 1 is when a lot more people came in and all the lines started getting stupid long. So
Well, what isn't the new Harry Potter ride? They're like 10 hours long or something to wait. Something
something
ridiculous.
insane. I didn't
I
ride
would not
any
wait
roller
10
coaster.
hours for. I'm just sorry. I want to ride it. But no.
Some of
Nothing.
the 3D rides, I rode all the 3D rides because those were cool. But I hate roller coasters mostly because I'm terrified of heights.
Oh, me
and-
too.
Yeah, so the 3D rides are cool because some of them were a little like, oh god, I didn't like that, but they were, on the most part, if you're afraid of heights and don't like roller coasters, you can do these pretty easily. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Even with the front of the line passes, because we got those too. So
Oh, I have no idea. I can't afford those dues. I don't got that big Microsoft money. I don't make all that Microsoft dough.
well, it's why we're only going for 1 day because that's all I can afford. I don't make that big money either.
I know you and Bill are friends and everything, so
Yeah,
Let's give that-
yeah,
It's more like Satya we need to get with more than Bill right now.
yeah. So that's all I got. Matt, what do you got going on this summer?
I mean, you guys know that I've been turning that van that I bought into a camper van, so that's been pretty fun. So I'm like, with the interior, I'm probably about 70% done with it. I'm in the process of building a platform bed that I can take in and out of it to put storage and stuff under. I just got through putting some new pine paneling for the walls. It's all insulated.
Got
So
shag
that's-
carpet.
No, it's some outdoor carpet for people put on their patios. I use
Yeah.
that same stuff because it's durable, it's cheap to replace, and
You wash the blood off, then stain.
yeah, I mean it's just
Club soda
it's
helps
just
get that out.
Yeah,
Buffalo
I've been told.
Bills.
So I've been
Buffalo
told.
Bills van here.
yeah, it just you can just power wash that out. So
That's funny.
I hate you both.
No, you don't. I mean, for me, I think this summer has mostly been we're keeping it low key. You know, we're going to visit some family for 4th of July. My dad gets a trailer load of fireworks. We can blow stuff up. It's
Yeah.
gonna be fun. And,
I will be in Tennessee. I'll be in Chattanooga for the 4th. So
oh, you'll be 6 hours away from me. No,
yeah.
well, probably
About
if-
4.
We've
About
talked
4.
about this before because you're like you're going to Chattanooga and I'm like yeah and it's like yeah you're right.
Yeah,
I think we're
it's-
going.
it's
I think
like-
we're going to end up going somewhere in Kentucky after I go to Chattanooga. One of my friends has his parent or one of my friends' friends has his parents' house has something somewhere that we're going to. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. Well, hit me
I
up.
just told them. Yeah, I mean, if you want to come to Chattanooga,
Well, I mean, if you're going to Kentucky, you won't be too far away from me.
okay, I'll let you know where we go in Kentucky. I don't know where. I just know that we're going. So
Yeah, well, that's cool. Just let me know. I think for me though, this summer it's we're doing that, and then mostly just hanging around the house. We're taking the kids a bunch of drive-in movies and trying to see movies and stuff like Toy Story 3, Spider-Man, and just trying to binge watch some summer TV shows. I know Swamp Thing's out, and
It's got canceled already.
I
got
know,
canceled
it
after
got
the first
canceled
episode.
Stranger Things comes out in July, so I was kind of excited about
July
that.
4th, right?
Yeah.
Yep, July 4th. That's exciting.
So just
Oh,
that kind
Dark
of thing.
season 2 comes out Friday. Did you guys ever watch Dark, the German show?
I tried to, but it was in
I couldn't
German,
do
and
this.
I couldn't do
Yeah.
the subtitles.
Oh, you should give it another try. It's really excellent, and season 2 comes out Friday, and I am super duper stoked. So
Yeah, what caught me in my attention, I love the movie It, and I've got the book I'm reading. Big Pennywise the Clown fan, which probably is disturbing for a lot of people. But one of the
we've seen
first
your
things,
child.
oh yeah, she can make a good Pennywise. No, but one of the articles came out and said if you like It, you'll love Dark. It's like It, but in German, or the German It, or whatever. And I was like, ooh. And I started watching it, and I was
Dark
like,
doesn't have subtitles. It's dubbed. It's
Oh, is it
dubbed.
dubbed now? Okay.
Yeah, it's dubbed. I'm pretty sure I watched it and it was dubbed.
I'll have to go back and see it then. I don't know. I'll give it another shot. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, as far as movies, I saw this summer blockbuster I wanted to see, which is Godzilla. I don't think anything else is coming out this summer. I just can't live without seeing. Obviously, Star Wars Episode 9 is going to be on my next big movie to go see in the theaters.
Avengers, that was pretty awesome to watch, but everybody watched it. What did I go see not too long ago that wasn't half bad? Shoot, I can't remember.
It happens.
But
to the
yeah,
best of us.
somebody asked me if I wanted to go see Dark Phoenix, and I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get me to see Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, I'll wait until it comes out on
Redbox.
FX.
HBO Go or something like that.
Yeah, you can get it on Redbox. You won't pay the $1.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
I have not heard anything positive about that movie.
I had
Mm-mm.
Which I hate because I loved what was it? First Class. And Days of Future Past was okay, but I mean we had Ivan the Ooze the Terrible version 2 of with Apocalypse.
Oh, I watched John Wick 3. That's what I watched.
Oh, that's such a great movie.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I'm glad they're going to come out with the 4th one. So
So
Well, they keep making money. Might as well.
yeah, I mean, and like if you're going in there for some kind of artistic, mind-bending thing that's going to make you like question your existence, that's not it. It's an action movie. There's a lot of killing.
yeah.
It was
The-
just
the-
they just
the-
had a lot
the-
of cool action
I was
scenes.
gonna say
The-
the artistic thing in that movie is the action choreography.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
it's over the top, like it's crazy. So if you don't like that stuff, you're not gonna like it. But I enjoy that stuff.
The only thing I enjoyed more than anything else hearing in John Wick 3 is Zavala going around with a shotgun and explaining firearms to John Wick. Like, what was it Sabo rounds, shotgun rounds, armor piercing, and they're like blowing the heads off these dudes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was such a great movie. So that's all I got, guys.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right on. Well, Matt, thanks for coming
Yeah.
and hanging out
Yeah,
with us tonight.
It was fun.
Provided a lot of insights about Star Wars stuff I didn't know about. I definitely want to catch the Aftermath books.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that the stuff that is non-canon now, or everything that is canon, I think I've either watched or read it all. So I think because I just got through finished reading. I finished the Dooku one that came out, and then the Master and Apprentice one. So I think I am 100% caught up on all canon things.
Are those
up to this
comics or
moment.
those novels?
Those are the novels. So I think I'm 100% caught up with everything that has come out, except for some of the kid novels. I haven't read those. So
Like Disney Princess Leia.
well, no,
novels?
there's like young kid books about Luke, about
I think I got my daughter one of those. She likes it.
Jen Erso. Yeah, there's like 4 of them. One about Poe, and then one
Jen.
about what's the girl? The main character in episode 9. Why can't I
Ray?
think of her name? Ray.
Ray.
There's one about her too. I haven't read those, but I think I've read everything else. So I'm not an expert, but I've at least consumed enough Star Wars.
Well,
to...
showing up with your camper van at the bookstore and buying children's books would probably be a little creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I just say one thing I've read on that or watched on that spoiler video that might be interesting? Would you guys like to hear it? Just one little possible.
I'll let you give me one.
What's his name? The pilot, Poe Dameron. This theory is that he might have like latent force powers and doesn't know it. That's why he's such an effective pilot. So good at, like, because you go back and watch episode 7, when he just, threading the needle, killing all those TIE fighters and a lot of that stuff that he has. He might be a force user, just doesn't know it.
He can see things before they happen.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just don't know what point it would play. I mean, at this point, I just
Yeah,
I just want a good conclusion, a good wrap up to the Skywalker saga. I can't talk. And are we going to end this movie and then that be it? Or are we gonna say the next movie is gonna take?
I don't think Ray's story's over at the end of 9.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where does Ray fit in? Is Ray gonna go to a TV series on Disney Plus? Are we going to? Because Benioff and Weiss are doing a trilogy, but I think theirs is a prequel trilogy, isn't it? It's gonna be.
I don't
know.
Really. I've heard a couple, but I'm really hoping it's the Old Republic, kind of like where KOTOR was set.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm really hoping that they go back and do some of that and start off a story and do some early Jedi stuff, or Jedi and Sith, where, basically at that point in time, the Sith are like the Jedi. They're their own little. They've got like a training facility. It's before rule of the tool. Rule of the two came intact. Like.
See, I would love to see that kind of stuff too. Like, let's just go back way before everything else and give me a like that. Or I want us to skip ahead.
You want to? Okay, so these books aren't canon anymore, but there's the Darth Bane series that was written.
Yep.
If you want to read those, those are right up there with the Thrawn trilogy. Probably some of the best books, Star Wars books I've ever read. Like, I could go back and read those Darth Bane trilogy over and over and over again. I wish they were still canon. Yeah. Bane is still kind of canon because he's mentioned in the Clone Wars. He's still the person who came up with the rule of the two, but they're excellent books. So
I'll have to give them a shot.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. Yeah. Well, Matt, thanks for hanging out tonight. Jason,
anytime.
Always fun. We want to put some thoughts together for next week. I know you and I are traveling. I don't think we can shove episode 4 in, but maybe we'll push that back a week or so. So
yeah,
we'll see what's out there. So
we'll come up with something. Or please tell us what you want to hear about. Nothing, what you've been doing, or give us something. Something's better than nothing.
Yeah, we love crowd participation. So
I've got some good beard grooming techniques. I mean, if anybody's.
I mean, if you want to share your webcam, I can put you on the stream, and you can we can go Beard 101 with Beard Management 101 with Matt on Nerf Herder Radio. It'd be like grooming a Wookiee, right?
Yeah. Other than my head, there's no hair up there. So, yeah.
All right. Well, no, I think that kind of wraps up this episode. So, for Matt, Jason, and I, we really appreciate you tuning in tonight or listening to us. Still listening to the traditional podcast. We appreciate everyone, hanging with us. Like I said, leave us some feedback. Tell us how we're doing. See if you have any suggestions. Love to hear you. So, without any further ado, may the force be with you.